Welcome to Play to Win, where we play to win. That's not what we say.
That's not what we say here.
I'm already off to a terrible start. Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in CEDH. I'm Cam.
I'm Dylan.
And this week, we're going to be talking about previous card evaluations that we've made on the show.
Oh, boy.
I know,
sure.
right?
Yes, okay.
So this is what I did. So I went through, I'm pretty sure, is all of our past top 10s and set reviews that we've done for every time a new set has been released, which we normally do for non-reprint sets.
Yep. Okay.
So we're not going to talk about like some painfully obvious cards that like we talked about because, you know, they're considered to be other things in CEDH, but like clearly not the powerful things in CEDH, right? So we're not going to talk about like all the 2-mana bounce spells that we ever talked about, right?
They come out in every set. We don't need to go over that.
Exactly. So there are a couple that caught my eye as I was going through, and that's what we're going to talk about. So I think I picked one from every single set that we've covered since we started. Did you know we didn't do one for Strixhaven?
I didn't know that.
I don't think we did.
Were we just busy? What happened?
I don't know, but I can't find
You
one.
can't find it?
We have 2 gameplay episodes for it, but we don't have.
a thing.
Set review. But there was really, you know, I was going back and thinking of it, like, what from Strixhaven are you playing?
That silence effect? What's that flame scroll seller?
Okay, great.
Maybe
Okay,
that's
yeah.
one.
There we go.
I think there's one card that
We would
have
have
been
had one card to talk about. Yes,
Yeah.
so maybe it wasn't that good. So do you know what the first set was that we?
No, I don't. All right, this is great memory lane. I haven't seen any of this information, so this is all new for me too.
All right, so Ikoria is the first set that we did.
Oh no!
A set release.
Okay,
for.
so
Yeah.
this is Kinnan and Winota.
So
Did you get our thoughts on Kinnan and Winota?
So I did get our thoughts on Kinnan.
Okay.
But I was very high on Luris. That was the first thing that I noticed. Luris is one, and Winota was the other one that I wanted to talk about for Ikoria specifically. I don't know why, but I was very high on Luris for some reason.
Okay.
I specifically wasn't talking about it as a companion, though. Like, I thought that it was going to be much better as, like, a stacks commander.
Yeah, I mean, and even the companion rule has changed since we even talked about it. So it being companion is even worse now when it was then. It's just not necessary, right?
No, it's really not. And I have seen Luris work as a commander, and I have lost to it.
Yeah.
So it certainly can do powerful stuff, but I don't know. I was very high on. I was weirdly high on it. As,
Yes. Okay.
From how I look back on it now.
And it's really not. It's not like an all-star. It doesn't like it sees play in some unique decks sometimes in like Razaketh decks.
Yeah.
And it sees play as a commander also very rarely.
Yeah, exactly. And like there's a couple like you've done the Will and Lucas that was able to use Luris.
Yeah, sure.
That actually did pretty well in a tournament recently. I forget
nice.
which
I
one,
didn't-
but
I
it
didn't
like
know
top
that.
16 to tournament. Yeah.
That's great.
And I've also seen it with Jensen. Remember we did it with Jensen too.
Yeah.
But there's very specific scenarios where you can actually use it.
The companion thing, I found most often the things you're losing are Ranger Captain and Rhystic Study, and those cards are really good. If you're okay with losing those cards, the companion partner can be like okay of Luris. Like being able to get back your Underworld Breach is certainly very good. But I feel like Ranger Captain and Rhystic Study are really good cards, and those are bad cards to miss out on to get that like definite effect from your command zone.
Yeah,
sort of.
Exactly, right. So, so Luris is the first card there. So I would say that's a miss from me. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't bring up Winota at all in the video.
We didn't talk about Winota at all.
Winota didn't come up at all.
That's
which I
bad.
think is like our biggest miss. Like, I don't know why we're starting on the biggest miss, but like we are.
We just didn't even think of Winota as a stacks piece, I guess.
No,
we didn't think of it as a commander.
I at all, right? Like, I didn't really realize at the time, like, how that could absolutely snowball, or like there were specific ways that you could build your deck, right? There were a couple of the things that we were focused on, like the mutate combo that works with Dockside Extortionist and
that
Chain
one
of
doesn't
Vapor.
really see play at all.
No,
right?
And it's just because you have to set it up, right?
many
You
pieces.
have to put a card in your graveyard,
Yeah,
right?
too
And
many pieces.
that's tough sometimes when you're not in like black decks.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised Winota didn't come up, but that's definitely a big miss here. But that card we should have said was an A. So
Yeah, obviously.
but we didn't. So
Did we talk about Kinnan?
you know what? I don't have Kinnan here, so I assume that we did because it was already on the channel at that point. So
Okay.
we did talk about Kinnan for just a little bit.
But
so.
we were on nothing exciting.
We were
about
already, well, I mean, we had Tyler, so like we were
Yeah.
already kind of, high on Kinnan at that point.
Kinnan.
there.
Okay.
But there was nothing really else that kind of stood out to me as like stuff that was way out of left field.
Okay. Besides us, missing Winota.
Yeah, there were 2 cards from the Commander Legends, the original Commander Legends set. that stood out to me. You were very high on Krark right at the beginning.
Sure. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. I remember that I couldn't figure out what Krark was going to be good for. I couldn't figure out how it was going to be good, but the text just seemed so good with free spells. I mean, with all the things that we have found Krark to be good with now, I was kind of thinking that like you needed a benefit off of just casting a spell, which Krark does. Krark Sakashima does play some of those effects that allow you to draw cards or something like that, but. Just the ability. I don't think I was thinking of like copying Krark and like being able to do that multiple times. I didn't think of that at all.
We didn't mention Sakashima and Krark paired together. We talked about them completely separately.
Interesting.
There was just like a half hour in between how much when we talked about them.
But so we did talk about each of those cards, just not together.
But not together.
There's so many combinations. How are we going to figure that out?
You were high on 2 Timnas was the thing,
which
right?
is like my best performing deck on the channel, I think, so far. Probably because I only played like a very short amount of games and I want a chunk of them.
Against a bunch of not that great decks that came out too, right? But yeah, so Krark, I was definitely much lower on Krark.
Okay, you weren't sold on the coins.
No, because I'm not very much a high risk, high reward kind of player. Because I feel like every time I go for the risk, it always backfires on me. 100% of the time, right? So I didn't necessarily like that option, but I have since changed my tune, especially when it is Sakashima. I mean, we've seen
when you get 2 of them. Us not thinking about it there being multiple Krarks, that didn't even cross my mind.
Oh, the commenters remembered.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they remembered that. We had a couple people that said that one.
Excellent.
Yeah. The other one. Obeka Brute Chronologist is another one that I wanted.
Weren't we?
You and I quote said this was the most pushed CEDH commander of the set. That's a quote from the video.
What set was this?
This is the original Commander Legends.
The partners.
Yes,
partners were in the set, and I said this one was the one.
This one, yeah. Not Jessica.
Oh, not Jessica, yeah.
Jeweled Lotus.
Oh, yeah.
Not like Tevesh or anything like that, right?
I just thought that
Rograk.
Having the extra time walks, like they're already good. Like I thought the extra Final Fortune effects would just be so powerful in this deck, but there's just like faster, and there's ways to be faster in Grixis, and just speed is better, I think.
Well, and she doesn't have speed at all, right? You have to tap her in order to have the ability, and it's now become significantly easier to interact with creatures in the meta. I run 6 bounce effects in my decks now.
I'm playing Dismember now.
Yeah, right?
Lots more removal.
Like there's a lot of people that are now looking for more ways to be able to deal with creatures. And I think having a commander that has to tap is such a huge downside when that kind of stuff is going on, especially at 4 mana where we've seen with Kessa and these other actual 3-pip color commanders, it's a little bit harder to use Jeweled Lotus to be able to cast your commander.
Yeah, a lot of the partners are more set up to take advantage of things that are that like give you so much extra speed. Things like Jeweled Lotus and things like Fierce Guardianship. Just like having like a commander that does nothing but is inexpensive is better than having a 4-mana commander sometimes. Especially if you can have 2 cheap commanders. If your commander isn't going to do anything for a while, it's just better to have ones that are relevant earlier and turn all your spells on.
Well, I mean, take a look at like Armix Crown. Like Armix is another commander that we didn't talk about from that
didn't talk
set.
about Armix.
Didn't talk about Armix at all. We didn't really talk about many of the uncommon ones.
Interesting.
But Armix in particular, like that one paired with Crown, you can also use like Mana Crypt and Mana Vault to cast them too. Whereas a card like Obeka, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can abuse your fast mana.
It's much harder.
More.
Well, I guess you can, but like, do you really want to tap your Mana Vault for the first time you're casting Obeka?
Yeah, that doesn't do anything.
Right? You don't want to do that. So yeah, like it is cool to be able to use those time walk effects. We have seen them being used a lot more in like Rog Silas too, right?
And they can just be good on their own without abusing that. Just taking one extra turn for 2 mana can be really good if you're in the right deck.
So it just makes already good cards that much better. But in the reality just ends up being you're really losing out a lot of value in your command zone when you can still play those cards in a much faster deck.
You always got to compare to Rograk Silas. And is it better than Rograk? The speed that you get from Rograk is just too much.
You gotta be able to outweigh the speed, right?
Yeah, you can do that with drawing from Tymna, and you can add the white for extra draw power, but if you're not doing that, it's hard to compare with Rograk Silas.
It's very hard, yeah. So those were the 2 Commander Legends cards. We have 1 Adventures of the Hidden Realm cards, which this is one that we get to.
This is the Dungeons and Dragons set, right?
This is the original Dungeons and Dragons set, yeah. Sure. And this is one that I'm excited to say we were really right about.
Ooh.
This is Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
We thought it would be bad.
Right? Yeah.
And it's bad.
Yeah. So this is the one that, mills people.
Right.
I have never seen this come up in tournament decks.
Never.
Or at least top performing tournament decks.
I haven't.
I don't think that this effect ends up being anywhere close to being good.
That's a win. I'll count it.
That's a big win for us, right? Yeah, that's a big one. We're going to move into Midnight Hunt. Just a couple cards. There wasn't too much in Midnight Hunt that ended up being like really CEDH playable.
Yeah, I can't even think of anything offhand.
No, like a couple cards that stick out to me. Drowning Dreams is the first one that sticks out. Remember this one?
No, I don't.
This is the better Stroke of Genius because if you control your commander, you can choose 2.
Yeah.
And the other one is mill twice X.
Sure. I've never seen it.
I actually played it in Urza for a little bit.
Okay.
Because some Urza lists a little bit ago.
Maybe I've seen it in Urza list.
Yeah, like they used to play like Stroke of Genius, and this was another way where instead of like having to buy back your Stroke of Genius twice, like you can kill 2 players with this with infinite mana.
Okay, yeah.
But other than that, like Stroke of Genius effects have really fallen out of favor in a lot of decks. So I haven't really seen this come up at all.
Yeah, I think the efficiency of like repetitive draw engines like Ristic Study type effects, I think we're just playing a lot more of those type of things in Esper Sentinel and other stuff like that. And this really is only like in specific decks, like big mono blue or maybe like green blue decks are going to want that effect, right?
Exactly, right? And when you look at it at base, like you kind of need to have 6 mana for this to draw you 3 cards for it to be good. And there's only very specific decks that are going to have that much mana to be able to do that with.
Those lights aren't purple.
Those lights aren't purple.
These lights are purple.
Cut!
Oh, man.
It's
Change the color.
Changing it up. All right. I have nothing else to say about Drowning Dreams.
Great. Let's move on.
All right. Triskaidekaphile.
We talked about this card.
We did talk about this card. Do you remember this card?
I said something good about this card.
You were pretty high on Triskaidekaphile. Well, no, like you recognize that it's not Thassa's Oracle, but like
I still stand by it's a 2-mana creature that says you win the game on it.
Yeah,
That's
but
something to
like
look at.
it's a very specific scenario where like you have to like ad nauseam, you have to stop when you have 13 life, and then you have to make sure it lives when you go to your upkeep.
Yeah, not great.
Which is not really that great. But you were like, if Thassa's Oracle gets banned, this could be something else that we look to.
I don't know if I agree with that anymore.
I swiftly said, well, both Jace and Labman are better than this, right? Because
if all 3 of them get banned,
what are we gonna do? Yeah, I'm sure that's gonna happen real fast. Yeah, so those were the only 2 cards from Midnight Hunt. It didn't really impact CEDH too much.
That was a standard set. That wasn't for us.
Exactly. Crimson Vow was kind of the same way. We were pretty right on the 2 cards from Crimson Vow that actually ended up seeing play.
Okay.
I mean, it was hard to say Hullbreaker Horror was not going to do well.
Right. We understood that it was a Tidespout Tyrant, right?
Yeah, I was playing Urza at the time, and I was fighting for playing both of them in the deck.
Oh, yes, right.
Yeah, so
I still think that's a fine choice.
I still think it's a fine choice, too.
Yeah.
It worked out for me a lot going back and looking at it. So, so that one we got right. And Alchemist Retrieval was the other one that I've seen more than just myself playing it.
Yeah.
So
I haven't seen it a ton, but I have seen it. Yeah, it's definitely I've seen it.
There are certain decks that like it more than others.
Yeah, Dockside decks.
Yeah, Dockside decks, but I really like it as an option in Dockside decks too.
Yeah.
Especially because it doesn't just bounce a creature; it bounces
anything,
right?
Well, non-land, right?
Non-land. And normally there's more than just creatures that can cause you problems. So just having that versatility is something that I like, right? If you're going to play Winds of Rebuke, like this is also something that can bounce your Dockside for even less mana.
I agree.
And it works out. So I really like that. But the one card that, I don't know, that maybe I think we were also right on was Wash Away.
Wash Away. This card's not good.
No, this one we talked about this one a little bit in the Counterspells episode. We kind of brushed over this one. This is the Cleave.
Oh, speaking of the Counterspells episode, what do you think about Arcane Denial?
Oh, Arcane Denial.
Did you read the comments? Because a lot of people think Arcane Denial is really good.
A lot of people think Arcane Denial is really good. I didn't. I don't know. I don't want to give my opponent more cards than they cast.
Yeah, because then you're down cards.
You're way down cards.
Even if it replaces itself, you gave them 2.
Yeah, right?
Not good.
I don't like it. It's a 2-mana counter, and it's worse than Delay.
Yeah.
So I don't want to play anything else that's worse than Delay if I'm playing a 2-mana counter.
I agree.
I'm going Mana Drain Delay, and I'm cutting it off there.
Yeah, maybe Dovin's Veto, and that doesn't even do the same thing, so I don't think it's...
And even if I'm not in blue-white, I'm still only capping myself off there.
Kind of agree. Just 2 mana for any interaction. I don't want too much of that. I barely want Assassin's Trophy anymore. Abrupt Decay is kind of where I need all the removal. That's 2 mana. It's just so expensive.
2 mana is a lot of mana. That's a lot to hold up. Yeah.
Sorry, that little. All right, back.
No, that's quite all right because we're on Wash Away, which is another counter spell.
Bad card. 3 mana option or 1 mana for never coming up situation.
No, it never comes up, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Moving on. The next one, we were Kamigawa. Something else about this list, we're specifically not talking about a lot of other commanders besides the ones from Commander Legends in particular. These are just mostly 99 cards.
Okay.
That I have on this list. Maybe if people want, we can go back and we can do a video specifically on what we thought of commanders.
Sure.
But a lot of commanders we've just played because we need to fill up a pod sometimes, right? So Kamigawa, there were the one in particular that I wanted to bring up is March of Swirling Mist.
Oh.
Because you and Tyler were very high on it, and I didn't express it too much in the video, but I didn't know what all that card was going to do, right? I pictured that card pitching more cards than it really ever has for me now. And I'm at a point now where I love that card and I don't want to leave home without it in most of my blue decks.
Yeah, Marching Swirling Mist is a great one. I think being able to temporarily get rid of a ton of stacks pieces is just super, super helpful.
Yeah. So I've learned to really like that card.
Yeah.
I do wish that it hit non-creatures, but you can't always get everything that you want.
Yeah, that would be kind of nuts, though, if it could hit non-creatures, too. Just pinpoint, get whatever you want off the board.
Right.
There has to be some type of cap, I think.
All right, so moving on into New Capenna.
Yeah.
This is our next set here.
There was some power in New Capenna,
There was a lot of power in New Capenna. We were pretty close on a bunch of it. An offer you can't refuse, Tyler was very high on.
Right.
I was also high on it. Not as high as Tyler.
Did I not like it?
You were pretty mid on it.
Really?
You were pretty mid on it, yeah.
At this point, I'm very high on it.
Oh, yeah, no, this is the first blue counter, the first blue 1 mana counter that I put in my deck.
Yeah.
Now is an offer you can't refuse. So I think it's still outperformed even what I expected, but I know you were pretty mid on it even in the video too.
Yeah, no, that my opinion has certainly changed after playing it a couple of times. I think I like the card a lot now.
Yeah, that one is really good.
I consider it an auto include at this point.
Yeah, we were pretty spot on about other things like Ledger Shredder.
Saying it'd be good, right?
Yes, we were also pretty spot on about Smuggler Share too.
Smuggler Share, the white card.
The white Ristic Study.
Right. Did we say it was going to be bad?
Yeah, we definitely said it wasn't going to be like a Ristic Study.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it cast.
No, I've never seen it cast either.
So I guess I still don't know, but I imagine that means it's not good if I still haven't seen it. Right?
No, I think that card was just talked a lot, and maybe that one was just talked a lot more for casual.
Yeah, and I do think it is a great casual card. Anything in white that does something like that is good, but
it definitely felt like a turning point card.
Yeah,
because now I feel like we're in a point where they're finally giving white the tools that it needs to actually be able to compete with these other colors consistently.
Yeah, and it kind of goes against what white is trying to do because it rewards them. You draw cards for when they play 2 spells, right?
Yeah.
Which is in white, you want to stop them from playing 2 spells. So it's kind of counteractive to what white's trying to do.
That's also kind of true,
you know
right?
What I mean?
Yeah, you're slowing them down, so then you have a value piece that you can't use once they're slowed down.
Right, because when you're ahead, it doesn't do anything, which is obviously one of white's built-in flaws or whatever. But I think that just runs too counter to what white's trying to do in CDH. And if you're just splashing white, where it doesn't, you're not going into white's color play identity quite as much, then you're in another color that can do it better, draw cards better or something.
Yeah, so again, pretty low on Smuggler Share.
Got it.
Moving on to Commander Legends 2. So this was a top 10 that we did.
Commander Legends 2. Which one was this one? I don't remember this one.
So we have there was a notable ordering of things that we had.
Okay.
So our number 1 for Commander Legends 2.
Oh boy.
What do you think it was?
I can't even think of a single card from that set.
You can't.
What was that set? What was it about? Can you give me a clue?
This one was also a Adventures of the Forgotten Realms type. Dungeons and Dragons, yes.
I have no idea. Give it to me. What was it?
So we had our number 1 was Abdel Adrian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
That seems okay, right?
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. What else is in that set,
Let me tell you 2 cards that we had below that.
Oh, no.
Displacer Kitten.
Oh, that one's probably better.
Yeah, that one's probably better.
Where
are you at on Displacer Kitten now?
It's fine. I mean, it's good. The ceiling is high. Undoubtedly, it can do some powerful things. It's still a 4-mana creature that you have to do other stuff with. It's good. I can understand that it's a powerful card. It's not. I don't know why. I don't love it, but I acknowledge that it's powerful.
I'm kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a really cool value piece that you can have, and it allows you to make sure that you can always pay for Rhystic Studies and, hell, even Mystic Remora.
Honestly, I think I'm just like a Notion Thief kind of guy, and I'm not going to play 2 4-mana creatures. If
No.
I'm going to play one, I think I want Notion Thief.
Because the flash on Notion Thief is so relative.
Super good.
The ability to hold up your interaction if you need to, but also flash in Notion Thief is so much more versatile than needing to commit this 2/2 that does nothing.
Unless you have other stuff. And,
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to tap out sorcery speed for 4-mana thing, and then have something else and hope that no one has any removal.
You can list off cards that it's really good with.
I understand. We know the cards.
Yes,
I understand.
know
we know
the cards that
it's
are
good
really
with.
good, but you don't always have those cards. Sometimes you mulligan to 5, and this card is horrible, right?
And Notion Thief can sometimes maybe get you back into a
Get
game
you
that
back into it,
other
right?
wouldn't have been
Someone
able to.
casts like a wheel, and you flash this in, and everyone like cries, and then you win
or
the game, right?
Esper Sentinel and Crom,
Like,
those are not maze.
I feel like that's such a better upside than
Yeah.
like having Displacer Kitten in those like situations when you're really far back.
But you said there was another card also that was down on our list. What was the other one?
Archivist of Oghma.
Oh, that one's the best card of the set.
That's the
probably.
best card in the set,
card of
I
the
would
set.
say,
Yeah,
yeah.
looking back now, that one, I think that's better than Displacer
That was
Kitten,
our
huh?
number 3.
Yeah, I mean,
Archivist
we
of
knew
Oghma.
that it was going to be good, though. That's
Yeah.
great. We knew it was going to be good. But yeah, I would just like switch that order. I think Archivist first, then Displacer Kitten, then Adrian.
That's exactly what I would do now, too. Yeah. I think we just got really excited about the fact that you could do the World Gorger Dragon combo in your command zone while also just having a better World Gorger Dragon for all of the decks that want to be doing that effect.
Yeah.
But the reality of the situation
that
is
combo still sucks.
that combo is the worst.
Yeah, even if it's better, it's still worse.
If we set up a tier list right now, the first combo that I would put in the poop section is World Gorger Dragon.
Yeah. At least it makes the section, though. It's in my mind, it still makes a section. It's
Oh,
it's,
well, because I want to specifically put on a chalkboard.
this is the
poop.
worst we can do.
This is the bottom line.
That's funny because, like, in some eyes, that means it's really powerful. This is a CDH level effect, but this is like the worst thing that you can do.
Right?
in
Yeah,
CDH.
exactly. Right.
Is animate dead World Gorger
It
Dragon.
falls to everything, and they keep printing cards that kill it.
Yeah.
All of the commanders that focused around the strategy are not seen in like top 16 and top 4 pods anymore.
Yeah.
Just no.
But Archivist of Oghma, on the other hand, can go in probably almost any white deck.
I haven't seen many white decks that are leaving home without it at this point.
Yeah.
It draws anywhere from 4 to 6 cards.
It's like
lot
a
of the
dark.
time.
I've said this before, but it's like a Dark Confidant that gains you life instead of loses you life.
Exactly.
I do think it'll draw you about a card a turn cycle. Some turns it'll be 3, some turns it'll be 0. But yeah, I think just that rate alone is good enough. That rate alone is good enough, especially in a deck that you can utilize the body in some way.
Exactly. And there's a lot of white decks. I was about to say something really stupid. A lot of white decks don't have ways to draw cards in the command zone.
A lot of white decks play
Tim,
Tim, though.
right? Yeah, but like Jessica Ishai. Like, I was playing Jessica Ishai when this card came out. I remember that was, something I was really excited, was just another 2-mana creature that was going to be able to get me long-term card advantage.
Yep.
So yeah, I would definitely put that card as number 1 from that set. So that made me laugh going back through and looking at that. Dominaria United was a very surprisingly spicy set for us here.
What was in Dominaria United?
So the first one that I want to talk about was our number 1 card that won't see play in CEDH.
Oh.
This was Plaza of Heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it has, right?
This is the card that made me want to do this and go back and look at some other cards. Because this is a card that I think we were super right about.
Yeah, that doesn't see any play.
But so I tweeted about this the other day, actually.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people that reminded me that there are 5-color Sisei decks that might actually really want this. You do play a lot of Legends, and if it's actually going to cast most of your deck, hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's like another 5-color land at that point. I can excuse it there. There's a lot of people that brought up 1-color decks too.
Yeah.
I'd rather play another basic land.
Basics are so good.
Right, especially if I'm in a monocolor deck that plays any sort of 3-mana land hate piece like Magus of the Moon or
sure.
Back to Basics.
Yeah.
I'd much rather up that count than have this colorless land that to me is almost like a Cavern of Souls, right?
Yeah.
Because it protects the creature that you are casting with it, but it doesn't cast any other creatures.
Any of the other stuff, yeah. In specific decks, I do think it's fine, but so maybe we were a little harsher on it than we should have been. But I still overall, I don't want to be playing this card.
I think most of the people that told me the card was really good said that it was really good in their Joda deck, but it was a casual Joda deck, which is great. Like I was specifically talking about it in a CEDH scenario.
Yeah.
And again, this card is gonna have homes, and even in like niche CEDH scenarios, sure, yeah, it'll have homes, but. No, I don't think this card is like.
I haven't played with it a ton.
No, I don't think it's very good. I think that's why. Our number 10 card was Shadow Rite Priest. Do you remember Shadow Rite Priest?
No,
because it didn't do fucking anything.
It didn't do fuck all.
And this is one that I was extremely low on, and I didn't even want to put on the list.
Okay.
But this is the one that gives your clerics +1/+1, and for 5 mana you can tap and sack another cleric
to tutor
to get like Razaketh into play.
Sure, yeah.
That card has never seen play in a deck.
I think I was probably higher on it than I needed to be because the upside seemed good to me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which it can be, right? Like again, like not having to have it be from your grave, like a black bribery, right?
Yeah.
You get around the graveyard hate. That's what I stuttered over. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
You get around the graveyard hate. It's a black bribery.
It's so expensive though. It's 5 mana to activate, right?
And you have to tap it too, right? So
yeah, it's just the rate's just too expensive.
It's too expensive, yeah. So we also had Stronghold Arena at number 2.
Oh, this card I feel like I see it in the Geo lists.
It's been in the Geo list?
I've seen it in a Geo list or two.
Because I put number 2 on the Dominaria United list, and then I wrote Cam's fault.
Yeah.
Because I was much higher on this than maybe I should have been.
Yeah, it not being a creature sucks, right? Because it draws you cards with your attacking creatures. So it in itself contradicts the strategy that it's going for.
Exactly. It's bad in the decks that it's good in, which is really weird.
Yeah, not good.
You hate to see cards like that, but that's actively what it is.
I do think it's good in Agila, though.
Yeah. Do you remember what our number 1 card from Dominaria United was?
Not a clue.
It was Temporary Lockdown.
I don't. This is a 3 mana thing.
It's a 3 mana. It's white, colorless for a 3 mana Soft Wrath.
I don't think
it's like CMC 2 or less or something like that.
I haven't seen it much.
Every deck that wants this plays Out of Time.
Yeah.
There were 2 cards that we had this over that I don't think we should have had this over in hindsight.
Okay, what were those?
Cut Down is one of them.
Cut Down's a great card.
Cut Down is a great card. And I think Cut Down is better than all 3 of the other cards that we've talked about. And again, it hasn't seen like a ton of play, but just having it be an option for low color black decks, I think is really nice.
It seems like when we do these set reviews, we just forget that oftentimes the most mana effective cards are the good ones. The 1 and 2 mana cards, those are really just going to be the best ones.
Yeah, exactly. The other one was actually Activated Sleeper that I might consider to be better than any of these other cards.
Activated Sleeper.
This is the one that is a Body Snatcher. The black Body Snatcher now.
Oh, sure.
So when it ETBs, it copies
3 mana,
the
right?
creature. Yeah, 3 mana.
3 mana instead of 4.
And it has to copy a creature in the graveyard that was put there this turn.
Okay, yeah. So it's good with Hulk. I've seen it with I've seen that card in a Hulk deck.
Yeah, I think it's seen more play than any of the other cards that we've talked about here.
Really?
Which might
even
actually put that maybe even Cut Down. What does Kirk play Cut Down?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe you're playing that in a.
I guess not really. Not many decks are really playing it. I guess
like maybe a blue-black deck if you're not playing Ad Nauseam.
I was playing it in Rakdos decks. I liked it as enough in Rakdos. Honestly, the main reason why I don't like it now is for me, my removal almost always has to hit Winota. That's like my threshold for CDH.
Yeah.
Like I want to kill something with 4 toughness. I want to make sure that all my removal can kill Winota. It doesn't always have to go at Winota, but like that's why I'm like favoring Dismember a lot recently. Is that like I need my removal to be able to get rid of Winota.
And unless you're Eidolon of Rite, Cut Down's gonna completely avoid you then. So.
Right. Yeah. So I'm a little lower on Cut Down maybe. So maybe we had it right exactly where it was.
Maybe Cut Down was right, but Activated Sleeper, we had that at number 8.
That one's probably
definitely
better.
should have been up higher.
Yeah, that one should have been better.
Yeah, definitely much higher there. Moving on to Brothers War. I don't have the Phyrexian set in here, by the way, because
we just did that one.
It just came up,
just happened.
and there's not been enough time to do anything, right?
When did Dockside come out? We weren't doing this when Dockside came out, right?
came out in 2019.
That was before we were even making content.
We started making content in 2020 because this is our 3rd year.
Don't
of
even
making
get started
content.
with me about this.
It's our third year.
I don't want to talk about how years.
But we
and
just
time
started
work.
our fourth year.
Okay, all right, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about Dockside. I apologize, I interrupted.
No,
what
it's
is
quite
in
all
this
right.
next set?
All right, so the Brothers' War
Sure.
is next.
That
So-
one was kind of recent. I can't imagine our thoughts were that wrong.
Well, no. Well, there's a couple, like the top 5 of the top 10 are really where like I wanted to scrutinize a little bit more. And we had Brotherhood's End at number 5.
I don't remember that card at all.
That's the Anger of the Gods, but instead of exiling the things, you could
kill
destroy
artifacts.
all artifacts.
Yeah.
With CMC.
I've been thinking
or maybe
about that.
just all artifacts.
I've been thinking about that card a lot, but to be honest, just 3 mana, like it's not better than Fire Covenant, and I'm normally playing black with red. So.
And what artifacts are you trying to kill with it?
Yeah, like mana. Mana is the only artifacts, or like if you really like, Winota might want it because Grafdigger's Cage is Winota's one weakness, but a 3 mana sorcery that kills creatures, Winota doesn't want that.
You have creatures that can deal with
Right?
that
Yeah,
card.
you just attack through. So like, it's one of the I think the decks that want it or would care about killing the artifacts are just not the types of decks that want this effect. Maybe.
No, exactly. And I just think going after someone's artifact mana, unless it's trying to win the game, is not a good way to go. Like Collector Oof is good because people need to be able to deal with Collector Oof so they can win through it. But if you just cast Brotherhood's End, someone can go to their turn and then still... Well, I guess it makes Dockside a lot worse, but...
I guess so. But Meltdown is better for that.
Meltdown's better for that.
Even though it doesn't give you... I understand this gives you the option to kill creatures and stuff, but just... I don't think that 3 mana is worth it. And like, if that type of strategy, I just don't find to be good in CDH. Like, trying to answer everything, that just doesn't really work in our format. There's too many people. There's too many things. You have to try to be better than them, not push them down or away. You know what I mean? Just like, it's so much often easier to...
Yeah.
Like ignore everyone than like trying to answer what they have. You're never going to have the right thing at the right time.
No, exactly. So we had that above.
I shouldn't say never. There are some times you're going to have the thing at the right time or whatever,
Well, yeah,
but it's just
that's
not going to
true.
be consistent enough.
No, it's not going to be consistent. It's not going to do what you want to do. So we had that card above Myrel. Myrel is the Grand Abolisher. The Soldier Grand
I like
Abolisher.
that card. I've been liking that one. I'm not sold that if it's like the best thing ever, but I think it's better than that other card.
I think it in time could be a mono white commander option. Maybe the more soldiers that they print, it could do something.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. You never know what the mono white people are doing their own thing over there, and they're always coming out of the gate with something that surprises me. So, so who knows? Maybe that's something. We also had Myrel below Sardian Avenger too.
That's one that I have yet to even put in Winota, to be honest. I haven't seen it a ton. I thought I really wanted to, and then just haven't been able to find the slot for it. I don't know. Have you seen it much?
I saw it like a little bit, like in maybe 1 or 2 lists. But I think the reality is that the decks that want it, I mean, what deck is looking for like
Winota.
a Tarmogoyf?
Winota
right?
is the only one that would want it.
And even then, that's
Winota's just so strapped for spots recently, I feel like.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like in Winota, like if you're at 2 mana, you want to be playing something that's interacting with the board because you're trying to get it down on turn 1.
Yeah.
Whereas your 3 mana slots are where you're looking for something that's going to combo nicely with Winota so that when you cast Winota on turn 3, you can attack with something and get a trigger then.
Yeah.
So that way you're interacting with the board and pushing yourself ahead.
Yeah, I think the things that this competes with are like 2 mana things that make multiple bodies that would go into Winota, or like Rick, like the things that help you go really wide or something like that. And this doesn't do either of those things.
No.
Like if at the 2 mana slot, you want your Winota things to either be stacks pieces or making multiple bodies to trigger Winota multiple times.
Yeah.
And then if you want like a big effect, you want it to affect your whole team because Winota's trying to go wide, not tall. So, but I'm not saying it's not it's a playable card for sure. That's just the reason why I don't play it Winota right now.
I don't know what other deck would want it is the other thing then too, right?
Maybe some new deck that we haven't seen yet that just beats
That
face
could
more
be.
than Winota.
But I'm going to blame Tyler on this one because he came in hot on that
Said it was
card.
really good.
That one wasn't on either of our lists, and we got really psyched up by him on that one. So I'm going to blame Tyler on that one. And he's not here to defend himself. So there we go. The last card I have on here, we didn't talk about Slicer at the time.
Slicer? We didn't talk about Slicer. We didn't talk about any of the Transformers
We didn't
cards,
talk
though,
about
right?
any of the Transformers.
Yeah.
Where are you
I
at?
don't think Slicer's that good. I mean, any monocolor deck can be taken down by a tournament by like a decent pilot, I think. So
100%.
I don't think we
right?
should take anything from Slicer doing well in a tournament. Like the damage output is a lot, but that's just that's like abusable. Like giving other people that type of control is just not going to work out all the time.
The first time you sit down against Slicer, like just
You'll
like
probably
picture
lose, and then you'll never lose again.
Well, just like picture, right? Exactly. Like picture yourself being like at that tournament, right? Like, are you spending your interaction on that thing when
if you've never lost to it? No, yeah, but at a certain point, you're certainly going.
But then it hits you for 18, and then you're like, oh my fucking god, it's gonna go to the next player who's also gonna attack me for 18. What the hell?
Yeah. The Slicer can be powerful, but a lot of decks can be powerful. I just think any deck can do decent in a CEDH tournament if a good pilot does what it needs to do.
Where are you at on Transformers?
I haven't seen any of the other ones do a ton, but I haven't really looked at a lot of them. They seem like they were designed for casual when I checked them briefly.
Now, where are you at on Transformers in general?
Oh, in general,
as a IP,
like the Michael Bay movies.
Well, or as the action figures, or as the animated series from the...
What are you talking about? It's a Michael Bay movie.
Well, they are Michael Bay movies starring Shia LaBeouf as
that's
Sam
the only
Witwicky.
Transformers. What are you talking about?
That's my favorite role of his. He's so good as...
What is he? Sam Witwicky.
Him panicking on his lawn is one of my favorite things.
Honestly, I was more of a Beast Wars kid. I don't know if you ever watched Beast Wars when you were a kid.
I've never heard of Beast Wars.
Dude, it's the shit. I'm pretty sure the new Transformers coming up is actually about Beast Wars. But it's like the same thing. Optimus Prime is a gorilla instead. He transforms into a gorilla.
Oh, are they machines?
They're still machines, same thing, but instead of cars, they transform into animals. And they're like fighting off aliens. It's like very, very early 3D animation type of stuff.
Okay.
But it's visually does not track anymore. But that's what I watched every day before school was Beast Wars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm upset there's no Beast Wars cards. If there were, I'd be more interested.
Well, maybe one of these days, because we're going to be getting Lord of the Rings later this year.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Right? I feel like there's not been a lot of talk in 2023 about it yet.
It's going to be huge, hopefully.
It's going to be
I'm
massive.
excited.
I can't wait to do our set review about
talking about
Lord of the
Sauron and
Rings,
shit. Yes, I'm very excited
and
about that.
to line it up with the lore, too.
I'm going to be bad at that.
I'm going to be pretty bad at that, too.
Hopefully we can do
but
some
I'm
research.
going to pretend like I'm really good at that, too. Yeah, so I think in general what we've learned here is that...
what did we learn?
I think we learned that there's been a couple cards that we were pretty off on.
Yeah.
But I think in general we've been pretty on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cards that we've talked about in our set reviews. I can see a lot of people saying this now. There's a lot of cards that we talked about in our set reviews that just have never come up in a CEDH game. And I did leave off a lot of some like very obvious cards that, well, yeah, like there's just better options that you have, and you're not going to cut anything for these cards type situations. So
did we talk about Rograk?
We did. That was the very first card that we talked about.
We said
in
it was
set
good
review. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
We said it
I
was
just wanted
really
to check
good.
because that was like the best card that's been printed in a long time. I think I wanted to make sure we talked about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we did talk about that one. A lot of the stuff we were high on in that set ended up being pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
Even, except for someone like the Kiki Jiki combos that don't like Winota plays them, but like.
Yeah.
There's like an ogre pirate that combos with it that we talked about, right?
Yeah, there's enough already.
Yeah, exactly.
Kiki says enough.
Yeah, so yeah, but no, I think in general we're pretty spot on. So.
Yeah, I still think the CDH tournament scene is kind of still growing at a rapid pace. So
agreed.
I would be curious to do this again in like a year or two or something when we'll have more results from tournaments by then, I think. Because right now we're still kind of piecing stuff together and it's hard to really figure out what's the best thing to do in CDH, I feel like, realistically.
Exactly. We're getting to a point where, metas are starting to form because we know what tournaments are like as we are kind of starting to have maybe one a month that comes out that you can go back and look at now, which is really cool, and that's very exciting. So.
Yeah, much different than I think during some of the times that even when we were doing these set reviews. Like I think that's a relatively new thing in CDH. There is like at least like a tournament a month that I see results about.
I think that's really nice. So
I think March of Swirling Mist is probably the one that I see that we've talked about the most in those lists is March of Swirling Mist.
Yeah, 100%. That one and Dress Down is now becoming one.
Oh yeah, did we talk about Dress Down?
We did. We were high on Dress Down. We were high on Dress Down.
That's a great
card is good. That card is really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I think a lot of like the we talked about some of the heavy hitters that we were spot on about, and like we were pretty spot on about a lot of the heavy hitters that were coming out, because like sometimes it's just really obvious when a card is going to be. Should we talk about like how you do evaluations for CEDH? Maybe that should be the first thing that we talk about. is
like me specifically, or like how we evaluate for CEDH?
Yeah, how do we evaluate a card for CEDH? Like the first thing
compare it to what it's already like.
that's the first thing I do, right? First thing I do is look at the mana cost actually.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you look at a card and you just know that it's not doing anything.
Yeah. There are cards you read. You're like you know by the mana cost that no matter what you're not going to do anything.
But after you read it, the first thing that I think, like you, is does this do something that is already seen play in CEDH?
Right, yeah. It's so hard to... The format is so powerful. Some card would have to be insanely broken to do something new in CDH. Other than that, and just like in Magic in general, like everything is a copy of something else. Everything is similar to other things. The only way to decide if anything is good is to compare it next to other things, I think, at least when evaluating Magic cards. You know what I mean? So the only way to compare it is to say, okay, what's this like? The new Atraxa, I feel like, is a great thing because I don't know if you've noticed on Twitter, everyone is realizing that Atraxa is fucking good as hell. And I was looking at Atraxa through the lens of like a CDH as a commander, and it's like not so great in that way. But I was not only thinking about Legacy and the fact that this is a great reanimation target.
Yeah.
And not only that, there are a lot of cards that want to pitch cards that have a specific color, and Atraxa is a lot of those colors. So
Force of Will, Force of Negation, Force of
Vigor.
There's
a ton. All the endurance type things, all that stuff. Solitude.
It's great in Standard. It's winning Standard events.
And a lot of times, like a 7/7 life linking, flying, whatever else that draws you 4 cards or 5 cards is just going to be like unbeatable in 1v1. But I wasn't thinking about that. But if you compare it to something like a Gristlebrand, it is like kind of similar to what Gristlebrand
kind of
does,
is, right?
You
can't repeatedly abuse it, but it still is going to draw you each card type in your deck, which is 5 to 6 cards.
Yeah, and I think people weren't comparing it to Gristlebrand because it doesn't really look anything like a Gristlebrand, but in my opinion, in practice, it's a little bit closer to a Gristlebrand. I don't know.
Normally, if it shits like a duck and it looks like a duck, but this time it was like, well, it looks like a beaver, and it shits like a hamster. So.
I think I saw someone say that everyone was too preoccupied with what a battle is, that they weren't really acknowledging that the card was like just really good.
We didn't talk about battle in the
How could we? There's no battle cards.
There's no battle cards.
What the hell are we gonna talk about?
How the fuck do I evaluate that?
Yeah, you can't evaluate.
And are the battles going to be good, or are the values going to be a limited mechanic that I'm not going to give a shit about in CEDH?
Yeah, I don't even know what battles could be. I hope they take the place of tribal, but I don't think they're going to.
No, they're going to be like events. It's going to be like an in-game event, like a mini game within the game. Your creatures are
like
going to go
world enchantment.
Your creatures are going to go into a battle, and then you have to like
Shahrazad.
roll a dice, or you have to like do something.
I don't know. Yeah, I truly don't know what they could.
It's going to be a thing.
Idea.
I don't know. I used to listen to Mark Rosewater's podcast.
Okay.
And I feel like there's a lot of things that they really try to go out of the box for, especially when it comes to stuff like in-game. So I could totally see this being like a game within a game that they end up doing with battle.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my
sagas and dungeons and things like that have felt very much like that for Magic recently, that they're making, like games inside of games.
Dungeons, you know what? Dungeons specifically. Yeah. Like I could totally see this being something that's
something like a dungeon or something.
Right. Like it's something that's tracked outside of the game that you can't interact with. But like as you go through a battle, like maybe depending on what you roll could depend on
I wonder
the effect.
If that would be cool if like the battle was like a dungeon, like it was just like a permanent that you put into play that you would go through as if you would go through like a dungeon or something.
That would be really cool.
I think a lot of the dungeon stuff is really sweet, but a lot of the cards you have to play for those dungeon effects are often bad, and at least with like the first batch of dungeons, they're no good. With the what's the other ones called?
The initiative.
The initiative dungeon. That dungeon's good as hell, but the other ones are not so good.
That dungeon is pretty good. Yeah, there is a lot of really good stuff that you get from that one. I said we weren't going to talk about Phyrexia, and then we ended up talking about Atraxa, and now we ended up talking about
battle. We were like we were immediately wrong about Atraxa, or not wrong rather. We were just talking about it for our format, which is I still stand by that I don't think it's great for CDH as a commander.
And of course, when we are doing the set reviews, they are CEDH set reviews. Right. So,
but I am more interested in trying it out in like a Reanimator deck. Reanimator has never really been like a great strategy in CDH outside of specifically Razakath, but that's like a specific combo
because you're going for a win condition,
right? Yeah, but like I'm talking Reanimator, like trying to just get like a fatty in early on turn 2, get a different fatty in, and just keep on trying to like beat down like that. That style deck is not so great in CDH. CDH, but if it were, this would be a great thing to throw in there.
It can be tough because a lot of times when you're setting up reanimation, you are spending a lot of resources to get something in play.
And if it doesn't win you the game, like right on the spot, what are you doing?
And if you get interacted with, again, it's very easy to interact with your reanimation deck, so it sets you so far behind.
Yeah, and yeah, when there's other players that can take advantage of the time that you're out of the game, that it feels bad, I would say.
I would say so too. So,
but if you're trying Reanimator like a true, 10 or 15 big giant idiots in your CDH deck and trying to reanimate them, I think Atraxa is an option.
If you're in 4 colors.
If you're in 4 or 5 colors.
That's the other thing you have to think of. Like, okay, so we're playing Thrasios Tymna.
Or 5. Even Kenrith. They really like Kenrith, a Kenrith Reanimator.
I guess that's true. Yeah, Kenrith
This imaginary Kenrith Reanimator that is playing a bunch of reanimation
Your
targets.
backup to Razaketh would be Atraxa instead.
I think now it's like Villas, and I don't know if this is better. This might, honestly, is this better than Villas? Maybe it's better than Villas.
So when it ETBs, it's not drawing you 8 cards if you cast it off Reanimate.
You sure it is?
Not 8 cards. And it goes by your...
Oh, you're talking about Villas.
Yeah, Villas will come in off Reanimate and draw you 8 cards immediately.
Yeah, that's true.
Atraxa won't do that. But Atraxa will draw you cards immediately with the enchantments.
And the other ones. Yeah.
Which is probably better than the Reanimate thing.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe Atraxa's better than Villas in Kenrith and Thrasios Tymna.
Good podcast clickbait title. Is Atraxa better than Villas and CDH?
There you go. And you have to get 45 minutes into the episode before we even
right
talk
at the
about
end.
Right?
Thanks for listening.
See you next week. Man, that would be funny.
The build up right to there.
I don't have any other cards on the list.
We can just end it there if you want.
Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so at Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Baby Jeebus and Demon of Razgrees.
Check out playtowinmtg.com for all of your Play to Win merch needs.
If you want to support us at no additional cost to you, check out our affiliate links down below.
Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content.
Thanks for watching or listening.
See you on Sunday. Alrighty, $50 patrons. This one's for you. Mitchell Shepard, Justin, Eli Richdy, Man Solo, Nikola Marikovic, Steven Schlichty, That Green Guy, Plantain Jackson, Isaiah Breliski, Michael Lyon, Pedro, Metal Plays Games, Byron Wang, Windwave, C, Khwaja A. Hamid, Jacob Depp, Michael Ballou, Jan Wildfang, Sleepy Jarvis, Thomas Bueno, Swampy McGee, Lauren Connell, David Nelson, Jormags, and James Noon 845. Thank you all very much.